In this video, I'm going to be showing you the exact keyword types your e-commerce brand should be using when it comes to Google Ads so you can achieve results like this one, where you're running your Google search campaigns at a 7.52x ROAS, where you're on an account level getting a 4x ROAS, a 6x ROAS, even a 10x ROAS. And by the way, not only will these keyword types help make your Google search ad campaigns better, but they'll also end up adding tons of consistency and profitability for your brand. So with that, let's first discuss the different match types and how they actually work before we deep dive into the actual strategy. So to illustrate this, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go inside this campaign itself. I'm gonna go inside this second ad group right here. And what we're gonna do is, first of all, just disregard all of these keywords that are already within this ad group. We're gonna click on this right here to show the different match types. The first one is broad match, which Google apparently recommends. Second one is phrase match, and third one is exact match. Now, let's start off with the first one, broad match. How does that work? Broad match essentially is going out for literally anything and everything that is even closely related to your product. And for the sake of this example, we're gonna take my favorite example of 3D printers into account. So for example, if you were launching a search campaign and you wanted to launch the keyword 3D printer as a broad match keyword, what would essentially happen is any keyword that comes before or after, such as 3D printer price, 3D printer UK, 3D printer Amazon, so on and so forth, all of these would potentially be candidates for your search campaign to rank for. And this means that basically anything and everything that is added before or after your major keyword would be also a candidate which your search campaign ends up ranking for. So for instance, one example, how do 3D printers work? This is essentially a whole phrase which Google would consider one search term, and it would rank your ad campaign for this type of search keyword. Why? Because your main keyword of 3D printer is written right here, and if you chose broad match, this is one of the easiest ways for Google itself to make money off of you e-commerce store owners. I recommend you stay 10 feet, 1,000 feet away from broad match. This brings us to the next kind of match type, which is phrase match. Now, if you look right here, obviously you won't be able to see the actual keywords because of security reasons for this ad account, but all of these keywords, not only within this ad group itself, but if we go back to the other ad group as well, a lot of these keywords are actually phrase match keywords. The way they work, it's fairly simple. Essentially, what happens is whatever your phrase is, whatever your main phrase is that you write. So for example, if the search campaign had the phrase match 3D printer in there, and phrase match, by the way, is written in quotation marks, what would happen is you would end up ranking for keywords that include your main word. So for example, if I were to write 3D printer, there is still a potential that I might rank for the keyword 3D printer price or 3D printer for sale. The main difference between broad match and phrase match is now I'm not just ranking for anything even closely related to my main keyword. I'm rather ranking for keywords which actually include my major keyword which I wanted to rank for. And if we look within the search campaign, these phrase match keywords are some of the most profitable ones here. So for example, if we go in and add a column really quick to look at the conversion value over cost, the conversion value, all these things, we can see how the ROAS really is. So a 6.64x ROAS overall for this ad group, 6.30x, 3.93x, 1.21x, so on and so forth. So still, there is a little bit of variation in terms of the overall ROAS, return on ad spend, for these keywords, but they're much more directed towards what I want to actually rank for compared to what broad match would be. And then this would bring us to the exact match keywords. And if we look right here, these are all exact match keywords. It's pretty self-explanatory. Exact match means that specific keyword which you have within brackets needs to exactly rank there. So in this case of 3D printer, if you had 3D printer in brackets, a potential customer would need to write exactly 3D printer for them to even see your search ad. So this is the most kind of narrowed level of match types. And as you can see right here, this also leads to some of the highest return on ad spend for these specific keywords right here. So these are the three major different search types which Google Ads provides you. Now let's cover exactly what I personally recommend. Keep in mind this e-commerce brand right here, which is an Australia-based brand, we're able to scale this to the next level in the last 30 days simply because of this search campaign which we have going on. I mean, the PMAX campaign is working and is doing fairly well, but it's doing nowhere close to this campaign right here in terms of profitability. And surprisingly, this is a search campaign. So the main reason why this search campaign is so successful and why we're exploding sales, because the PMAX campaign and the search campaign is almost identical in sales at this point. Pretty soon the search campaign will be overlapping and exceeding the sales. We're exploding it because we're first of all have two different ad groups running, but we only have two different ad groups because we separated these ad groups because of the keyword match type. So the first ad group has exact match keyword match type. The second ad group has phrase match only keyword match type. And both of these, they're running on a target CPA bidding strategy. So we are letting Google's algorithm do the trick, but we're basically just providing it the accurate keywords which it needs to really kind of scale to the next level. The trick here is to incorporate keywords which you already know are working previously for your products. And again, this kind of strategy does require you to get a bit of data beforehand, but the best way to get this data is by running a shopping campaign, maybe a performance max or a standard shopping. It doesn't really matter. But for the PMAX campaign, if that's what you're going to be using, going into the insights section and looking at all of the keywords getting you results, and then you can further go in and differentiate them based on phrase match versus exact match, so on and so forth. This is really where your strategy needs to begin if you want your search campaigns to explode in sales with these two match types. Let's say your ad account is kind of brand new. First, find success with shopping, get that data, then launch search campaigns with these two keyword match types. But let's say you don't want to wait for that. You would just rather start with search campaigns beforehand. Then the best way to approach this is launching a search campaign, phrase match or exact match based on your keyword research. So using the keyword planner tool, just going in and understanding which keywords are number one, the most relevant to what you want to sell, but number two, have the least amount of competition. And the best way to do that is, again, going into your keyword planner tool, choosing the right country. In this case, we're just using Australia as an example, ranking by average monthly searches, and taking a look at this range right here, top of page bid, high range. Ideally, you want it to be below about $1.50 to maximum $2, unless your brand is in a very high ticket niche. In that case, it might be $3, $5, so on and so forth. But ideally for most brands, it should be $1.50 or less, and anything that's above $1.50, in fact, you can actually set a specific filter to make sure you only see those kinds of keywords which are less than $1.50. So if we go in and add that in, now we're going to be only seeing those keywords which are actually ideal. And from here, you can actually make note of which keywords are relevant to what you want to sell. So for example, if you don't sell any Prusa printers, it doesn't make sense for you to add this anywhere within your ad groups. But if you scroll through and you see maybe something such as best budget 3D printer, and you do sell something that's within a good budget, then you might want to add that in. So really the strategy here, ideally it works best if you have previous data, but if not, you can do keyword searches here and figure that out. But this is exactly what we do for a lot of our e-commerce brands, not only for my own ones, but also client ones under my Google Ads agency or marketing, which if you're currently doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your brand to the next level. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen.